I'm Don Habiger, founder of Appanage Fishing and inventor of Scent Striker. Welcome to Scent Striker's How-To video blog series. Today's blog is how to rig a hoochie skirt to optimize your fish attracting scent trail. The materials list for this particular rig are monofilament leader. I'll be using fluorocarbon in 40 pound, octopus style hooks, Gamakatsu 6/0. Scent Striker, today's color choice will be green. Spacer beads, I'll be using 10 millimeter. These are glow. 4.5 inch hoochie skirt. Green color choice today. And ball bearing snap swivels. To begin this rig, you take your leader in adequate length, and I pre-cut one that's about wingtip to wingtip. And you snell on a terminal hook. I'll be using the egg loop snell knot. I'll be doing this rigging fairly quickly. There are other great videos out there on the web that if you search snell knot, particularly egg loop snell knot, it'll teach you how to do that. But you take your leader, poke it from the front of the eye to the back, put down 5 wraps along the shank, and that little piece of line you put down behind the eye, 5 wraps. Take your leader tip from the back of the eye out the front. Leave 3 or 4 inches. Make sure that you pinch your line that is now visible along the shaft, next to the shaft, and then lay down another 5 wraps. And there's your egg loop snell knot. Now to keep things separated, I'll just put a little moisture on that line. I'll hold it in my teeth, and I'll take that little bit of tip there and pull it through. My line stays nice and separated. Pull it tight, and there you go. Terminal hook on with an egg loop snell knot. Next step is lead hook. Down the shank from the back of the eye out the front, your leader goes. Pull your hook down. I'll line up my hook bend on my lead hook about 3/4 of an inch or an inch from the terminal hook's eye. That's my spacing. I kind of like that. Snell knot number 2, 5 wraps immediately behind the eye on your shank. Leader tip from behind the eye out the front, 3-4 inches. The new line along your shank, 5 more wraps on top of that line and the shank. And again, 5 is not critical. It can be 4, it can be 6, it can be 7. I've used probably all those numbers. Separate the line, pull it through. Snell knot number 2. Pull it all tight. There's your terminal hook and lead hook for this hoochie rig. The next step is to take your Scent Striker original model, put your line through the center hole, string it on. Take a second Scent Striker original, voila. Couple of spacer beads. I'll be using 2 in this particular rig. Onto your leader. There's 1, and there's 2. your rig is almost done. The next step is to put on your Hoochie skirt. I'll be using a green and chartreuse, and I like to fold my head back on itself. That way I have lots of room to do some work. All right, line tip from the back of the head out the nose. Pull it toward the spacer beads. I like to pinch my spacer bead up into the head, put a little moisture on. There, all ready to go without losing my skirt too much. There we go. Drop it all back into place, and you can see that the lead hook now is covered with tentacles or skirt, and your trailing hook is exposed for those short bites. A great setup for catching fish. The last step in this Hoochie rig is to tie on your snap swivel using your favorite cinch knot. I'll mark my leader just so I have a reference point while I'm tying at about 28 inches. A little bit of a shorter rig for when I do Hoochie skirts, and what happens is this 40-pound monofilament line tends to transfer the action from either your flasher or your dodger into your Hoochie skirt, and that action adds a lot of fish attracting qualities to it. There's my mark, and now I have a reference point. I like to use the cinch knot called an Albright. I've been using this, even though it's a little bit harder to tie, I've been using this knot for years, and I cannot remember a time when the knot has failed. So, now that I have my reference point, I'll put the snap swivel over that reference point. This particular cinch knot, you bend that loop back behind about a couple of inches. You take your tag end, that double loop tag end, you put down 4 or 5 turns on that. You take the loop in your fingertips, poke it through the double loop right behind your snap swivel's ring eye. There you go. Pull it all tight. Little lubricant once again. Takes a little bit of work. Like I said, it's a little bit of a harder knot, but I've had great success with that particular knot. You got a little bit of excess line there. It's time to get rid of it. Take your clippers, snippers, cut it close to that knot. You have a forward tag end loop. Get rid of that. There you go. There's your optimized Hoochie rig. Now, out on the water, it's really easy to charge scent strikers. So you take your dinner bell smell, you shake it, make sure that it's good and mixed up. I like to keep a Tupperware container on my deck. Pour in my DBS sauce. Move the Hoochie out of the way. Get my scent strikers, terminal hooks, everything in the bottom of that Tupperware dish. I may even use an agitator, like a popsicle stick. Make sure that I work in my scent sauce into every bit of the Scent Striker original. And when I'm ready to go, snap swivel on my dodger or flasher, and overboard it goes. You'll notice that Scent Striker is well covered in that tentacle, well blended, color and skirt. So it is optimized. It is leaving that scent trail right where you need it most, at your hooks. Now we went over that fast, but if you go online, scentstriker.com, and go to our fishing tips, you can download for your use a materials list on this particular rig, as well as an expanded view. You can see each of the components, and you can tie this rig ready to go for your next fishing outing. Thank you for joining us. I'm Don Habiger, scentstriker.com.